tuning into the Super Bowl this Sunday.
But the action on the gridiron is only half the story.
Heaven help us if they ever learn the Macarena.
Pepsi, Generation Next.
The advertising blitz is on. More than 25 companies have spent $1.2 million for each 30-second commercial. That's $40,000 per second.
You've got 1 out of every 2 Americans glued to their TV set, intensely watching this game. And $1.2 million for a lot of these companies is really a drop in the bucket compared to their advertising budget. McDonald's spends over $1 million a day on advertising.
But you won't see any McAds this Sunday, and another super regular Master Lock also dropped out. But other companies were quick to chip in.
And you must be bald. I mean, Bob. Bob!
Blind dates will never be the same.
If you haven't noticed already, humor with an edge sells, and pair that with a famous face.
Hi, Bob.
This year, Bob Dole joins the ranks of other star-quality politicians like Dan Quayle, Mario Cuomo, and Ann Richards.
They'll probably see a Bob Dole maybe they didn't see in the campaign. Maybe they should have seen in the campaign.
As teams battle for the title, Monday morning quarterbacks on Madison Avenue will be keeping scores of their own. Lynn Sawyer, KDKA TV News.
State that they need to initiate a price war with Wendy's and Burger King?
Believe it or not, they are. We tend to think of McDonald's as being one of these great successful giants, and they have been over the past 4 decades. But what they're finding is sales aren't increasing as they had hoped. People's habits are changing, their lifestyles are changing, they're looking for healthier foods, and they're going to other alternative means. And so I think we're seeing McDonald's really hurting and trying to do anything they can to get us into those McDonald's again.
Well, how come Wendy's and Burger King are slinging and selling so many more burgers these days?
Well, their promotional campaigns have been very successful. Burger King is offering the charbroiled, which is a little bit healthier, so that tends to work as well. And I think people are, in a sense, getting tired of the old McDonald's burger and looking for some differences. If you think about the product mixes that these companies have, too, Wendy's has a lot of salads and more healthier chicken types of foods. And so I think consumers have been swaying toward that direction.
Well, McDonald's has certainly tried to enter the healthier fray. They have their McLean, which I don't even think they make anymore, and they introduced a new burger last year, the Arch Deluxe. It didn't sell very well. In fact, they lost a lot of money on that. So Wendy's and Burger King, they claim that they're not going to be dragged into a price war, but are they going to really have a choice?
Oh, they have no choice. They absolutely have to do it. We have seen burger wars before, and it's great news for consumers because what happens is we get great values and great prices. And so I think all of the burger giants really have no choice at all.
What if the local franchise owners at McDonald's around the country don't go for this 55-cent Big Mac?
Well, I really think that they're bound by this as well. They really have no particular choice because what's happening is if people down the street do that, then everyone is going to really have to follow suit. So I think overall most franchises are going to agree to this.
What kind of profits can McDonald's make? I read that the ingredients alone on the Big Mac cost around 40 cents. If you just count the meat on the burger and the lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and the sesame seed bun. So if they're selling these things for 55 cents and they cost 40 cents to make, and that's not even counting labor, isn't this going to actually hurt McDonald's, or isn't there the potential for this to hurt McDonald's?
Well, what happens in marketing, we call this a loss leader. It's going to be encouraging people to go into the store and buy maybe the fries and the soft drinks and various things like that.
That's actually the price, the 55 cents, is contingent on the purchase of a medium soft drink and an order of fries, right?
That's exactly correct. And so in the long run, they're obviously not going to be losing money. They're not going to be making money on the burgers, but they are going to be making money on all the other different types of products that they're selling. The trick is to get you into the McDonald's and buy other items as well.
How much do these other items cost? When we talk about the French fries and we talk about the soft drinks, these aren't very expensive items, so I guess the profit margin is pretty big with these things.
Yes, and what they're attempting to do, not only with the fries, but also with other products such as the looking for, I guess what you'd call the auxiliary things, like the desserts and other items that really have a high markup for those products.
All right, as a marketing trend, Is this the kind of thing that we're going to see more of, more competitive franchises and these kinds of things in other industries,
Yes.
not just?
Absolutely. We as consumers are very much value conscious now. We've got the baby boomers who are aging and they're looking to save money for their kids going to college. And we're seeing people looking for a lot of value. We're not spending as much money as you can see. Sales are dropping in most products. And so any kind of retailer or marketer really has to do everything they can to get these consumers into the stores and spending money. So I think it's good news for the consumer. Even though the economy is very strong, we're going to see a lot of prices and a lot of sales for us.
Doesn't this just come down to, though, if somebody's used to going to McDonald's or they're used to going to Burger King or they're used to going to Wendy's and they like the way the products taste there, aren't they going to continue to go there even if it's, if it's just a matter of pennies? Aren't they going to keep going?
Well, what all of these Burger Kings are really hoping for is to keep getting consumers into the store. It is a matter of brand loyalty. And so if you like McDonald's, you're going to be willing to pay a little bit more, or Burger King. But when you're looking at 55 cents a burger as compared to $2, I think that's going to be a strong pull and really get us into those stores.
Some industry analysts have said that McDonald's has really shot themselves in the foot here. They've saturated the market. There are too many McDonald's franchises around the country. Do you agree with that? And is that the case with the other chains, with the Burger Kings and the Wendy's?
McDonald's has saturated the market. I wouldn't say that they've oversaturated, but there are a tremendous number of them. And the reason is that the growth was so strong for decades, and they've done extremely well. But over the past couple of years, because people's tastes are changing, they're looking for healthier alternatives, we're not seeing a lot of these fast food places growing and expanding as they had. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns. It's really not only for McDonald's, but for the others as well.
Mm-hmm. We're used to seeing a lot of McDonald's commercials on television. We flip around and they seem to be everywhere.
Yes.
What kind of campaign marketing blitz are we likely to see from the Golden Arches this time?
It's hard to figure that McDonald's is even going to be spending more money because they're spending over $1 million a day on TV commercials. But I think we're going to see something similar to when they introduced the deluxe burgers and the various deluxe sandwiches. That was hinting at an adult market, and I think they're going to do a lot of very creative types of advertising and probably a major media blitz. When you think about the fact that they've just announced that they may be selling burgers for 55 cents, and all of a sudden they've got tremendous mass media, as we are talking about it this morning, I think that in and of itself is really a very successful promotional campaign already.
And McDonald's does real big business overseas. Do these kinds of marketing campaigns fly over there? And does McDonald's, are they going to start?
Day ahead, Channel 11's investigator Rebecca Thompson is live at Parkway Center with the answers to those questions and more.
Peggy, giant eagles stacked up right in the middle of the Consumer Reports national survey. This store in the Parkway Center Mall was considered a superstore in 1982. But times are changing, and so are people's tastes. They simply want more.
It's a European phenomenon. It started in Europe about 20 years ago, called hypermarchés, and what they are these superstores, which pretty much enclose everything under one roof.
Now grocery stores stateside are doing just that. When you walk into a newly designed store like this Giant Eagle in Leetsdale, the first thing greeting you will be the sights and smell of a bakery or a floral shop, perhaps one with a floral designer that does weddings. In-store bakeries are competing with big chains, decorating their own cakes and making their own European breads, even their own brand of bagels. Prepared salads and marinated, ready-to-cook meats are taking up more shelf space.
Especially being a new mom, I use the prepared foods a lot.
But consumers don't want to just buy food at the grocery store. They want to eat it and get the money they need to pay for it.
I like the way they're set up. I just got done eating lunch here, actually. I'm a Mellon Bank user, so I use Mellon Bank all the time. I can spend my day here.
And so could many others, buying cell phones, renting videos, shipping packages, and browsing down an entire aisle of pet supplies, and getting a store map to find them. But having it all under one roof isn't having it all. Consumers gave all Giant Eagle stores an average score in cleanliness, checkout time, and prices, but a below-average score in courtesy.
But Peggy, the customers over at the Leedsburg Giant Eagle tell us that the staff there is very courteous. In fact, one mother shouted to the manager as we were leaving, thanking him for the special parking.
Back Back-to-school shopping is the second biggest shopping season of the year, and although stores are stocked and ready now, the question is, how long can they last?
That is a very basic concern that we will have to get our back-to-school product in, our Christmas, and also to get all of our shipments out to our customers that are from out of state.
The smaller the store, the bigger the potential problem, says marketing professor Audrey Gusky.
It's going to be difficult for them. They did not have contingency plans. They can't afford the additional cost. And so it's really going to be a big blow for them.
National chains like American Eagle Outfitters say the strike could actually give them a competitive edge.
Our major shipments come through a major trucking company called PJAX, so we aren't real concerned with it right now.
So you're sure that you'll be able to keep your shelves stocked?
Yes, no problem.
But Ben Davis does have a problem. How can he cash in on increased mall traffic if he can't get his deliveries in?
Because we don't have enough room to store inventory, so by not storing inventory, we have to get in every week, and it's already starting, stuff's coming in late.
And Gusky says it's not just products consumers should worry about, it's prices.
If the strike lasts a long time, it's probably going to have a devastating effect upon our Christmas sales.
Now's the time suppliers have to get their products to manufacturers. Manufacturers have to get them to wholesalers and then on to retailers and consumers. If delivery charges cost more each step of the way,
the cost would have to be passed on to the consumers. The retailers aren't going to eat it. And so if this strike lasts a long time, the people that are really going to suffer are the consumers.
Right now, prices for back to school.
I like your steam washer. Can I have that, please? And a friend who's a good friend might say, well, you know, I'm not using it right now. You can have it for the next 2 weeks, but I'd like you to bring it back.
Well, there are borrowers who will borrow, and with all intentions, as Jay had wanted to return those library books. But unfortunately, she was very busy. She has family. She has obligations. We have people who have borrowed things, and they forgot it. They put their library books on the shelf or their
Lisa and Charlene.
Exactly.
19 years later.
Doesn't seem like you have anybody here on the stage that's really borrowed things and never intended not to give them back. Well, unfortunately, we have people out there who borrow things because they want that, and in their mind, they have no intention. The person that's lent it to is probably going to let you keep it anyway in the long run, and it's really not worth the strain and the stress that is put on your friendship.
Absolutely. And then if you borrow something, don't think it's yours and you can lend it to everybody in the neighborhood either. We have one last thing. Is there a Heather here? Where's Heather at? Raise your hand. Heather, you know, now, Janelle, you lent the dress. Where's Janelle at? Yeah, right. You know what? Your friend Heather borrowed something from you, too, didn't she?
Yeah.
What did she borrow from you?
She borrowed a bag.
Heather, give the bag back. Join us on the next Montel Warren show. Come on up here. Give her that bag back.
I'm John McIntyre of the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel. Tonight on Night Talk, Walt Harris on the big turnaround at Pitt. 9 o'clock on the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fox on Consumers. I'm Rick Folbaum. Later on in the show, we'll find out how to make sure your family vacation is stress-free. But first up, the topic is call response companies, companies that answer the 800 numbers for other businesses and also collect all kinds of information about you. Here with more on what's being called inbound marketing is Fox News' Debbie Wilker.
You've seen the ads. 1-800-CALL US about pretty much anything. Got a problem? A comment? From calories to cost, companies want to know what you think.
Thank you for calling CSS. Thank you for calling Wamsetta Home Products. Thank you for calling British Airways. How may I help you?
But more and more today, the phones aren't ringing at company headquarters. Rather, they're answered here and at other call response centers like this one throughout the country.
Consumers these days understand that companies are using data to deliver better services and products to them.
So the next time your taco's on the soggy side, remember, when you call the company, you're on file.
Thank you for calling Taco Bell. My name is Melissa. How may I help you?
In Miami, Debbie Wilker, Fox News.
All right, well, joining us now from Pittsburgh is Audrey Gusky, marketing professor at Duquesne University, and Ron Rhodes is here in New York. Ron is the general manager of one of these services, Rob Weber and Associates. Audrey, let's start with you. Why would a big company like AT&T need to hire out to handle these calls?
Well, they claim it's a lot more cost effective. What tends to happen when you're bringing outside organizations in who could perhaps take the calls from several different companies, it's saving them quite a bit of money. But I have concerns with this. There's a lot of ethical implications, because when you have a lot of outsiders being responsible for a particular organization, you may not be getting the quality of service, and also the selling of this information or taking information from consumers that they are not aware of, that they are providing to other people, is a big problem for consumers.
All right, Audrey.
Big Brother is watching.
1 second. Ron, we have just about 20 seconds. Should people be concerned?
No. What's basically happening is we've seen the emergence of a 24-hour marketplace, and basically these companies are really helping.
I'm going to ask you to just hold off on that thought, and we'll pick up on it right after the break. I apologize for cutting you off. More Fox on customers that call in. Joining us again, Audrey Gusky, marketing professor from Duquesne University, and Ron Rhodes, who runs one of these companies. It's called Rob Weber and Associates. And Ron, I had to cut you off before, and I'm sorry about that. Why shouldn't we be concerned when we think we're calling one place, we're actually calling another place, and there might be information gathered about us and given out to people that we might not want to have that information?
Well, first of all, it's Ron Weber and Associates.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No problem. And what essentially has taken place is that we've seen the emergence of a 24-hour consumer marketplace. And we recognize that business relationships are essentially trust-based, but it's very healthy for our economy to for these corporations to be able to share such services so that they can offer more to the consumer.
But you don't tell people that are calling in, first of all, that they're not talking to the people that they think they're talking to, and second of all, that you're taking down some personal information about them that you're going to share with other people. Isn't that deception?
We don't deliberately deceive anyone. We don't necessarily volunteer this information, but if any consumer calls any of our agencies and asks whether they're talking directly to that company, we'll be very forthcoming with that information.
But you're really dealing with an issue of privacy here. As consumers, we have a right to know where our information is being sent. If someone has a medical problem, they don't want insurance companies and potential employers to find out about different types of problems they may have. As consumers, we have a right to know where that information is going out, and we should be told. As a consultant, I've worked with many organizations and helped them build these call centers. And what we attempt to do is provide, gather the information to help these companies better produce products and services that are of interest to the consumer and will satisfy their needs. But when you're taking it a step further and selling that information to other organizations without the consent of the consumer, that's wrong, and that's scary.
I wouldn't want to mislead the audience here, Audrey. We're simply a conduit, and we're under contract by various corporations, and we don't keep any of the information. It goes straight through us to the original corporations that the public thinks that they're doing business with. So we don't sell that information independent of the corporation that we're contracted with.
Right, exactly, Ron, and I'm not accusing you of doing that, but a lot of organizations are actually doing that, selling this information. And as consumers, we're completely unaware of that. We're providing this information, we're calling with a complaint, we're trying to get a new credit card, we're asking information about a product, and suddenly they're asking us questions, and as innocent consumers, we're providing that information. Lou Harris did a survey a couple of years ago and found that majority of consumers are aware that this is happening but feel extremely uncomfortable with this and really don't know what to do about it.
I think I would push that responsibility to the corporations who contract with us to determine the ethics and the values of the corporation that they're contracting with. We're very proud of our reputation in the industry, and as I said, we have no reason or desire to hold on to this information and do anything deceptive with it.
Audrey, we're under a minute now until the end of this segment, but what can we do if we are uncomfortable, like the survey says we are? What can we do about it?
Well, I think consumers need to be aware whenever they are providing information, whether it's over the phone or answering some kind of questionnaire, that information most likely will be provided to someone else and outsourced to someone. They're creating databases and warehouses. They know who we are. They know
on Seinfeld Mania. Straight ahead on Night Talk.
From Studio A, here's John McIntyre.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of Night Talk. We are live high atop Television Hill with executive producer Scott Jonesy Jones, also directing tonight, JC, the audio guy, and Dick Suffren, Succotash Sylvester, getting jiggy with it on the cameras this evening. And don't forget Dan, the intern Augustino, on phones. You just can't beat the excitement of the behind-the-scenes humans and the energy they provide to me, your little old host, for another wonderful program. We have never had Chris Moore on of KDKA Radio in the 52 years we've been on the air. Actually, it's a little less than 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And we are remiss in that respect because the guy is yapping his heart out every weekend on KDKA. I listen to him constantly. We've had your Pintek, we've had your Hansberger. You'd think we'd have had your Moore, but we blew it. But we're going to try to make up for that this evening, and then, of course, he'll hopefully become one of the usual suspects. And, he may be on as often as Cyril Wecht before you know it. That is, if he enjoys himself. If not, we're toast. Also tonight, and we will be discussing, because that's our usual format, but we'll also be discussing race relations because we just felt like it. We were kicking around stuff to talk about. When I first got to Pittsburgh, everybody says they were horrible, inflamed because of the Johnny Gamage case. Now, they may be wonderful, they may be horrible, they may be somewhere in between, but I don't hear much about it anymore. I wanted to know what Chris thought about it. Something you're definitely sick of hearing about is Seinfeld mania, but we are going to beat it to death anyway because we are the media, and that's what we're here for. Dr. Audrey Gusky of Duquesne University, who is an expert, among other things, on marketing, and there's certainly quite a bit of marketing involved in Seinfeld mania, is here to discuss that, the fascination with the program, and whether or not it's overkill. And boy, I will miss it, I got to admit. As a matter of fact, don't forget that this Thursday, we're not on at 9 o'clock at night. For once, the only time in our history, we're on at 7 o'clock at night. Why? Because this Thursday, everybody's going to be watching the final episode of Seinfeld, and so there would really be no point to us being on. Many people would argue that right now. But nonetheless, 7 o'clock Thursday, we will be live at Kangaroo's for the Seinfeld Watch Party on McKnight Road. Kangaroo's, the best wings, the best chicken, the best whatever else it is they have. I can never remember, but whatever they have, it's the best. I've eaten it. I'm still alive. It's a good place. Right, Dick? Yes. It is, really, seriously. And it's on McKnight Road, and we're going to have a Seinfeld Watch Party. We're going to have Joan Embry from the San Diego Zoo. Why? I don't know, but she was in town, so we thought it would be cool to have her at the Seinfeld Watch Party. We're going to have the entertainment editor from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review to discuss content and what makes the show work and what makes the characters work and how much we'll miss it and whether or not people really do or will miss it. We'll also have on the telephone a Pittsburgh-based producer, one of the producers of the Seinfeld show who is from here, and so it's going to be chock full of fun and chock full of fascinating analysis of your basic Seinfeld show. That's Thursday, 7 o'clock, right here on the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel. Join us live on TV or join us live at Kangaroo's on McKnight Road. Yeah. As a matter of fact, why don't we join the obsessive hype machine and play for you a little clip, and then I want to point out for you something that you might not be able to see. Watch this clip closely, because a Night Talk behind-the-scenes staffer is actually included in the clip. You may not be able to see it the first time. This is from the famous Seinfeld episode called The Contest, where they were all trying to see who could go the longest without getting friendly with themselves, shall we say. Take a look.
My mother caught me.
Caught you? Doing what?
You know. I was alone.
You mean? She caught you? Where?
I stopped by the house to drop the car off, and I went inside for a few minutes. Nobody was there. They're supposed to be working. My mother had a Glamour magazine. I started leafing through it.
Glamour?
So one thing led to another.
So what did she do?
First she screams, "George, what are you doing? My God!" And it looked like she was going to faint. She started clutching the wall, trying to hang on to it. I didn't know whether to try and keep her from falling or zip up.
What did you do?
I zipped up.
She fell?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't run over there the way I was.
No, I guess you couldn't.
I wouldn't think so.
And that.
So she fell, and then she started screaming, "My back! My back!" So I picked her up. I took her to the hospital.
Oh, how is she?
She's in traction.
Sorry.
It's not funny, Elaine.
I know, I'm fine.
Her back went out. She's got to be there for a couple of days. All she said on the way over in the car was, "Why, George, why?" I said, "Because it's there."
Glamour?
All right, I'll tell you this, though. I am never doing that again.
What? You mean in your mother's house or all together?
All together.
Give me a break.
Right.
Well, you don't think I can?
No chance.
You think you could?
Well, I know I could hold out longer than you.
Care to make it interesting?
Sure, how much?
$100?
You're on.
Wait a second. Count me in on this.
You?
Yeah.
You'll be out before we get the check.
I want to be in on this too.
Oh, no. That's oranges. It's a different thing because you're a woman.
So what?
It's easier for a woman not to do it than a man. We have to do it. It's part of our lifestyle. It's like shaving.
Oh, that is such baloney. I shave my legs.
Not every day.
All right, look, you want to be in?
Yeah.
You got to give us odds. At least 2 to 1. You got to put up $200.
No, 1,000.
Now, I'll put up 150.
All right, you're in for 150.
Okay, 150.
All right, now, how are we going to monitor this thing?
Well, obviously, we all know each other very well. I'm sure we'll all feel comfortable within the confines of the honor system. All right, come on. Get it?
Back live, joined now by Dick Suffer and Succotash Sylvester, the camera guy. Dick, welcome to the program.
Thank you, John.
You don't shave your legs every day either, do you?
Once a week.
And with regard to what they're talking about, you've never gone more than like 20 minutes, have you? I'd rather not answer that question. You don't have to.
Right.
But the reason we brought you up here is you were actually in the Seinfeld scene right there, working with those guys.
Yeah, I was there working with them.
How'd you get chosen for that?
I just
out of the blue, they came to the station one day and said, we want Dick Suffer and Succotash Sylvester. I believe if we take a look at it, we can actually see, and we're going to take a look at a full screen edition of this.
I shave my legs.
Not every day.
Yeah. There you are.
All right, look, you want to be in?
Yeah.
You got to give us odds.
That is really amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So is Kramer as cute, as he appears to be?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How about Elaine? Is she pretty?
No, not that. Not
you look. Let's say look at that one more time because it was so quick. I mean, it's your 15 seconds of fame more than your 15 minutes of fame. Here he is, just hanging out in Monk's Diner.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they call it?
I think so. Yeah.
You don't really. You look like you could be George Costanza's father, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
All
we
right.
bonded when we were there.
Did you bond?
Yes.
Okay, good. Don't you think it's about time we end this edition of the program, or this portion of the program, and get to Chris Moore of KDKA Radio?
I believe so.
Why don't you send it to break, Dick? Say we'll be back with more in a moment.
Right, we'll be back.
Whatever. All right. That's what. No speaking part for Dick. Back in a minute.
What are you looking at?
There's a naked woman across the street.
This is going to be the easiest money I've ever made in my life. So my friend Joyce is teaching an aerobics class. I'm going to go tonight.
Yeah, well, the waitress should have taken it back.
So then I got a call this morning. You know, I was chosen to go on the space shuttle. We're going to Mars.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good time.
I'm out.
What?
Yeah, I'm out of the contest.
You're out?
Yeah.
Wow, that was fast.
Well, it was that woman across the street. You better be careful, buddy. She's going to get you next.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the special Seinfeld Night Talk, 7 o'clock. Go to McKnight Road, Kangaroos. It'll be swell, or watch us here at 7 o'clock, not the usual time this time, on Thursday. Here is Dr. Audrey Gusky, who is an expert on marketing, among other things, from Duquesne University. Welcome back to the program, Audrey.
Good to be here, John. Thanks.
So Seinfeld is nothing if not marketing.
Absolutely. When you really think about it, he is Mr. Marketing. He's taken a show about absolutely nothing. He's put products on to make millions. He is now closing down his career with record. I mean, when you think about the 6 decades that TV has been around, this is a phenomenon that we have not experienced ever. More advertising dollars than the Super Bowl, per minute. So I think he's done okay for himself.
What products is he putting on? Or maybe, what, I mean, like Heinz ketchup or something? And I'm just unaware that there's a fee, or tell us about that.
Well, all throughout Seinfeld, all these past years that he's been on, if you watch very closely, you can see in the background, or maybe they're drinking Snapple, or they're
Snapple
driving,
was huge, yeah.
Yes, they're driving a Saab or a Volkswagen, or they bought a Cadillac. Jerry bought a Cadillac for his parents.
And each and every time there is money changing hands?
They're trying to find Twix bars and vending machines, and yeah, it's called product placers, and they've been one of the most successful, the most successful of all shows ever to use that, and they've used it extremely well. Companies want to be on that show desperately because they want to have that association. J. Peterman catalog, they've become extremely popular and successful because of that.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. So that's a real catalog?
It is, indeed.
I should probably know that, but is it widely distributed, or mostly New York, as everything else is in the show?
It has a select group, John and I.
Oh, so I'm too low rent. Apparently not. Do you get the J. Peterson catalog, Peterman?
Sorry. No, I don't get it either. So.
Aha.
But I'm sure if I...
So, and have you been studying this, and have you been forcing your classes to study it at Duquesne?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I had my first strategic marketing class tonight. And I had the class discuss some of the products that they have seen, and it was very easy for most of them to mention at least 2 or 3 products that they had seen. So it's a tremendous phenomena. And in fact, what's happened is this is such a major cultural phenomenon. I've heard a lot of plays and different theatrical things have either started their shows earlier on Thursday or starting later because everybody wants to be home for the big Seinfeld episode. And rumor has it that even a marketing class has been canceled Thursday night.
You canceled? You mean you're messing with the future of our society by killing educational quality moments for shallow television?
It's going to be an educational moment in and of itself.
So you asked them to name, what are they supposed to learn from this? Just the power of television?
Well, not only the power of television, but what marketing is all about. Because when you think about what's actually happening, taking a TV show and creating this major cultural extravaganza and the products that are associated with this show and the money as far as the advertisers that are putting themselves on the show, it is really an interesting, unusual, and one-of-a-kind type of a situation.
They seem to have been able to weave these promotional items into the plots without destroying the integrity. I don't know if you can say Seinfeld has integrity, but sure, it certainly does, comedic integrity and quality. So that's a pretty big feat in and of itself.
Absolutely it is, yes. And a lot of it's subconscious. Maybe Kramer will run into Jerry's kitchen, pull something off the cupboard, it'll be a box of kicks, and he'll go, you know, wolfing it down. And so that's subtle, and that's subliminal in a lot of ways. But it's either blatantly obvious or sometimes subtle, but it works. Both of it works.
Well, are there documented cases? In other words, did Snapple sales go up, or that you know of, or has anybody even bothered to study that?
I'm sure Snapple studied it very carefully, and they, I can almost guarantee that every product that has appeared on there has gone up significantly, and that's why they wouldn't be really pushing and paying that money to be on those shows.
How many shows is that going on in right now? I mean, virtually all of them on television, just the select few that are at the top of the ratings?
I would say that most movies and most TV shows are attempting to get into this money market.
Because there has to be some sort of debate over quality, I would think. Like, I don't see anything that I know of on ER, but who knows? Maybe that'll start happening.
Perhaps the cars they're driving or some of the food that they're eating that you're not noticing. But overall, there have been, you think about E.T., remember what candy E.T. was eating?
Reese's
Pieces, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was really the start of these product placers. And they paid a little bit of money, but as we know, E.T. took off. It was a great phenomena, and as a result of that, Reese's Pieces, they couldn't keep it on the shelves at that time. So ever since then, companies have tried to do that and been very, very successful with it. Because we as consumers, as viewers, we watch a show, and like Seinfeld, they're part of our family, they're part of our lives, and you see them doing stuff and using products, and so, you know, you want to emulate them. So it's been pretty successful.
Does it ruin the watching of a television show for you because you can't just watch the plot? You're too busy looking for Heinz ketchup or Snapple or something in the corner?
Well, I usually try to videotape the shows and then play them back in slow motion and try to pick everything out.
You do not?
No, I don't.
No, but I mean, seriously, but so it doesn't, I mean, you can...
Well, sometimes it's hard to pick up things because it is so subtle, and you have to really have a good eye and pick it up because sometimes it's pretty quick. Some shows like Seinfeld are blatantly obvious in using this. Movies a lot of times are blatantly obvious. But I spend my spare time sometimes trying to pick up these things.
What are you trying to pick up? Let's find out. Let's find out what Audrey's trying to pick up when we come back on Night Talk as we discuss. Specialist from Duquesne University is here. We are talking about the marketing of Seinfeld. In fact, an example of what she was just talking about was in the clip we showed you a little while ago. Let's take a look at it again. You can see Elaine is approaching, I believe, an actual box of cereal.
I'm going to go tonight.
As she discusses who's going to finish the contest first as they look at a naked lady across the street. There, that would be the cereal in the lower right-hand portion of your screen. Aha!
So then I got a call this morning, you know.
Proof of what you're talking about. But is it, I guess they wouldn't tell us whether or not product placement fees had been exchanged each and every time or how many times.
Oh, I'm sure they
have. It's safe to assume every single time you see a product that's identifiable in a Seinfeld episode at any rate that money's changed hands?
Absolutely, and I can't quote figures, but we're probably looking at least 6 or more figures every time that something shows on the air. Absolutely, because particularly for a successful show like Seinfeld.
Well, here, and as you talk, we'll show this clip where you can clearly see a brand of yogurt and a Snackwell sitting on the table.
Yeah, and you know, it happens all the time, and we as viewers aren't paying attention to a lot of this stuff. But if you watch very carefully, any TV show and most movies, there's big money to be made, billion-dollar industry, and I think we're going to see more and more of it.
Let's talk about the broad-based appeal of a show like Seinfeld. It seems to cut across generational lines. It's about whiny, anal baby boomers, but I know a lot of Generation Xers who like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And my mother likes it as well, and she's 80 years old.
Yeah, it really does cut across a lot of generations, and particularly baby boomers. It's hitting on a lot of key issues with them, and in a sense, it's created a culture. It's brought back a lot of nostalgia. You think of the Pez dispensers when we were little kids, and we would eat those little candies, and that was brought back. So baby boomers, as we're aging, are a little bit concerned about that. So we like to see some of our history, some of our past, some of our fears, some of the fears that they're showing on there. So I think it's been really an interesting, you know, projection of a lot of trends.
I keep hearing people say that these people are shallow, selfish, horrible people, but I would like them if they were my friends. And I think it may say something about me, unfortunately. While I don't think of them as rocket scientists or particularly deep, profound human beings, I don't think of them as any less shallow than sort of most of the people I interact with.
Yeah, and when you think about most TV shows, they're very prototypic of any of the stars or characters that would be on a show. But what's interesting about Seinfeld is that they've taken a lot of everyday things, even just cigarette smoking when you think about it. And with Kramer smoking as much as he has, you wonder how much of that has contributed to this resurfacing of this particular trend. So the language, you know, just all of these things have sort of taken a new sort of era of its own.
Here's a call for Dr. Gusky from Craig. How are you tonight, Craig?
Hey, John, have you ever heard of Aaron Silverman?
You see, there's a guy who keeps calling all the talk shows and mentioning this guy's name, Aaron Silverman, as if he's going to be the next big superstar in some sort of and he's marketing. He's just doing what you are teaching these kids at Duquesne. And he is marketing the name Aaron Silverman. And look, I've said it twice more after he said it, so it's obviously working.
But has he been on Seinfeld?
Not yet.
Well, then.
As I understand, in the last episode, Aaron Silverman is mentioned. George says, yada, 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 Aaron Silverman.
Then.
So the kid's probably in a marketing class. He edits all this stuff together and probably gets good grades as a result. It has also raised a lot of social issues.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about maybe not necessarily racial issues, as Chris was talking about, but there's a lot of issues as far as sexual relationship issues, family issues, parents, friends, that type of thing. And so I think it's put a new slant on things, and they're not afraid to talk about anything, as we all know. And so I think that's opened up a lot of avenues for TV.
So what lessons are we learning from this, and what are you teaching the youth of tomorrow who will be marketing the soap of the future to us?
Well, we're learning that to really succeed in this world, you really have to be a marketer. And when you take someone like Jerry Seinfeld, a simple comedian who has really, I mean, become a part of history now as far as marketing himself, marketing the show, NBC. He's taken NBC, which was suffering, and has really put it on the map again. So it has gone above and beyond the simple show.
Here is an example, again, of what you're talking about. Elaine is seen here actually drinking Diet Coke. Well, that was it, but and you did say it was subliminal.
And it's subliminal.
Oh, and everybody's going to get one of those big orange shirts, too, once they see that. Let me ask you about the ethics of that. Are we being suckered as consumers, and should we be annoyed that we're being manipulated, being sold things when we're just trying to get some entertainment?
Well, that's an interesting issue in and of itself, because we as Americans, as viewers, as consumers, are constantly bombarded by advertising everywhere we go. there's billboards, there's radio commercials. We're constantly bombarded by it, so we're familiar with it, and we're, in a sense, accustomed to it. And so what marketers have had to do is go above and beyond the traditional types of TV commercials and things, and put products in a movie or a TV show, because it's more natural. It's something that's not going. We're not going to say, oh, this is obviously only an advertising. This is something that's.
But we've only got about 25 seconds left. But you remember a long time ago there was allegations, and I believe some of them were true, that there was subliminal advertising in movies. You know, that flashed the Coke, and that was controversial.
That is illegal, and you can't do that. Yeah, because that's sort of something below the conscious. And so this is at least something that we can see and maybe monitor and maybe realize that we're being manipulated.